dance for joy or lust or anger.
Welcome to Sensible Secondhand Classics, the show where we look at nostalgic cars that are over 15 years old that you can buy for a budget of between £1,000 and £5,000. This is a 1991 Jaguar XJS 5.3 V12 convertible, and maybe it's not the most sensible car after all. So the XJS was actually launched in 1975. It was subject to quite a long development process, and it was a recipient of the 5.3 Jaguar V12 engine. Not all XJSs had this engine, but most of them did throughout the sort of early years of the car's life. The six-cylinder engines weren't available till 1983. This particular engine generates something like 285 horsepower. It sort of varied through the years. The HE version that came in 1981 generated 290, and actually the ones that were towards the end generated 280, so about 285, I'm just going to go with that. You'll notice that actually the roof's very close to my head, and yeah, there's a reason for that. These cars are not very spacious at all. I've heard they are quite cramped, and yeah, they are. Absolutely. So when they decided they wanted to put a six-cylinder engine into production, they used what's called the AJ6 engine, and this car was the first recipient of it. It was really designed for the XJ40 saloon, but this one got it in 83. When the XJS-C was launched as well, the sort of half convertible as opposed to this full convertible version, that generated 221 horsepower. That lasted until the 1990s, when the 4 litre was introduced, just after I think this car was made, and that generated 223 horsepower. In 1994, that actually got a boost to 238 horsepower when the AJ16 engine came in. And those 1994 revisions were sort of the last that the XJS received before it discontinued production in 1996. The 5.3 litre V8 was actually upped to 6 litres in about 1992, and the 6 litre model generated 304 horsepower. I've had a look at various sources, and some of those figures do seem to vary, but you know, those are the main ones that I found. Also, if you're looking at the XJRS model, which was the really sporty one, they had a 5.3 litre V12 with 318 horsepower, and then the 6 litre model had 333 horsepower. So plenty of power, whatever XJS you want to try. One thing I would say about this car, apart from the fact that the fuel light is appropriately on, is the fact that despite it having a really small cabin, it's not very big in here at all. The bonnet's massively long, so it's like an E-Type. You could probably get your nose sort of knocked off if you're driving around in one of these. So, strangely, this car actually still has the bar between the J and the S on it, although it's a 91. I imagine it was made in 1990. At this stage, you can only get the full convertible with a V12 engine. You could get it with a 6-cylinder a little bit later on. But yeah, it looks really nice. Cream leather interior, wood on the dash. You know, just the sort of way we like them. Full convertible wasn't available actually with the XJS until 1988. Before that, you'd be looking at something like the XJS-C. Rear seats are pretty useless. I'm not going to go into them. I haven't got an awful lot of time with this car because this is the 6th one I've done today, so we will sort of speed things up a bit, I think. So if we get in here, the seat cover is actually on because the weather's a bit funny today. Got all kinds of things in here. It's a little bit more compact than you'd expect in a car like this, particularly with all this sort of luxury and things like that. Rev counter there, very interesting sort of bathroom scales type instruments. There was a sort of later type of XJS which actually changed a lot of the things in here, and this is still the sort of earlier type of interior. We've actually got an electronic trip computer in here. It has light switches, a very strange kind of business. Actually, just does up there rather than the pointing needles. To show you the either way, you just get that, which is weird. Cruise control is here. 3-speed auto, I think this actually is. Dual ashtrays, and this is real wood, as explained in the episode of Wheeler Dealers back in the day. That actually they sent this panel away that was bad in the XJS they bought for £1,000 to a cabinet maker to be able to sort of polish it up. Yeah, very compact in here, much smaller than I was expecting. But you know, even though I've heard about how small these are, got all kinds of things in here. Controls for stereo, controls for the camera equipment that these cars actually carry. If you want to have a go in one of these, you're very welcome, and do a better video than the one that I would do, which is quite possible today. These indicator and wiper stocks look very familiar. I can't remember what other car used them. And we got the light switch, which is quite weird as well. Sort of old mixture of different things in here. Of course, climate control as well as having the hood. We're going to leave the hood actually alone today because I just haven't really got time to sort of fiddle with it opening up and down. Oh, just getting in and out of there would be quite a workout. We've got this Mark III Fiesta key as well, which is really strange. So, going to need the key to open this as well. Actually, there's a different key for the boot, which is odd. Odd at the moment, yes. Okay, autofocus there. Battery is in the boot in there. I think that's one of the fuel filters in there. Actually a fair bit more space in here than I thought. The hood folds into this section rather than into anywhere near the boot. So that's pretty good. Yes, you know, the styling of these later ones, particularly the sort of celebration ones towards the end, which I think even look better, are probably the better. I just noticed on this car, not only the handbrakes on the right, but also the electric seat controls are just down there, heated seats and things like that, which is extraordinary really. Let's take a look under the bonnet. So this is the very, very complex V12 engine, Jaguar's own unit. This will be a car made in about 1990, so this will be the 5.3 litre engine. One of the things people forget to do on these cars actually is the rear spark plugs. It's so difficult to get to them as opposed to the front ones. Just make sure if you're going to buy one of these that it's been properly serviced. Obviously it's very expensive to service a V12. That's why a lot of people these days would go for the 6-cylinder as opposed to this very complicated engine, which looks scary, and of course, well, it is. But if you want the ultimate in smoothness, then there's nothing like this at all. Right, let's go out for another drive then, shall we? Lloyd Young Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. So what's it actually like to drive? It should be, you know, one of the best riding cars sort of ever. And because it's a convertible, obviously the car shakes an awful lot more than the coupe one would. And you know, I can understand that. But it is very smooth. I'm very grateful to have had a chance to drive this actually at the Great British Car Journey, which is in Derbyshire, and Ian and Riley, the rest of the team have you know, gone out of their way to let me drive as many cars as possible today, and throughout all sorts of weather. That's why I keep changing my jacket, and I'm very grateful for that indeed. I've always wanted to drive one of these since I saw the new Avengers in the 1990s, which was broadcast in 76, 77. Of course, Gareth Hunt drove a 5.3 V12 XJS Coupe. I think it was NRW875P in some of those episodes. I think it was a manual. The manual was also used in some of the Return of the Saint cars, but the white pre-production XJS was mainly used in the series was a manual. Some of the other cars used were automatics. The manual actually didn't really cope very well with the power that was available with the V12 engine, so it was discontinued by 79. But when the 3.6 came out in 1983, at the same time as the XJSC, you could get a manual or an auto with that. And I think some of the later cars also had a different manual gearbox, but this car very much suits, I think, an automatic transmission. It's that sort of car, particularly this convertible version, which is more about sort of posing and looking good as opposed to the ultimate in sort of handling. I'd like to try actually maybe a 4 litre coupe and just see how that compares. One of the maybe very late ones that have a sort of facelift look about them, but this is very good. It's just very smooth. There's so much power in this engine, you know, almost 300 horsepower, and you can feel that it's all there, but you don't really need to access it most of the time because the engine's so large and it's got so much torque that although it just sort of gulps fuel into 12 hungry cylinders most of the time, it does it in a very, very enjoyable way indeed. So if you're going to buy one of these cars, particularly the V12, which needs 3,000 mile or 6-month oil changes, you've got to change the automatic transmission fluid annually and the coolant every 2 years, otherwise you can have problems. As I've said about the spark plugs as well, you know, those are a bit of a pain to access for sort of the real ones. That's why a lot of people don't do them. Also, these cars can rust like any old Jaguar. Front cross members are quite common, rear suspension mounts and the inner wing. The 6-cylinder also has this recommendation that you change the coolant every 2 years, otherwise you can blow the head gasket. So viewers, I have found actually an XJS on sale in the last 24 hours for £3,600. So they're definitely cars that you can buy for under £5,000. Whether this is a sensible second-hand classic, I don't really know. Certainly the V12s are not. I don't think those are at all. I think really the one you want is the 6-cylinder for most reasons, unless you want the ultimate in performance and the ultimate in kind of smoothness, because this is one of the smoothest engines I've ever driven in my entire life. And I'm very grateful to Great British Car Journey for letting me have a go in this, because I wanted to drive an XJS for, it seems like forever, and they finally made that dream come true. And of course they can make that dream come true for you as well, because you can come and drive this very car at the museum in Derbyshire. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video in the comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more reasonably priced nostalgic motoring.